So Hunter, you and I go way back. I am trying to remember. We were taking trips together with Jacqueline a decade ago, a couple times a year. And there's one, trip that in particular sticks out to me, and it was the trip we took to Costa Rica. Hunter, tell us what happened when on New Year's Day in Costa Rica, you were driving the precious cargo of my wife Jacqueline and I. What happened? How did you get out of it? I think this is a great way to introduce just who you are in general. Give us the story.
Yeah, let's do it. So if we go back to New Year's Day, I believe 2016 would have been
Okay.
the time frame there. Yeah, to your point, we were on a trip to Costa Rica. We were getting ready to come back. Great planning on our end. We had a flight
Yeah.
very early on January 1st of that
Yep.
day. And so the setting was somewhere. I mean, we had to have left between like 3:30 and 4 in the morning.
Yep.
The most fog I have ever driven in my entire life. Very windy roads, and apparently in Costa Rica, the police have better things to do than try to control the speed of people on the roads. And so the way that they monitor that is they just put a bunch of speed bumps just right in the
Yeah.
middle of the highway.
Yeah.
And as we were going around a curve and it was unbelievably foggy, I looked down at the directions. And when I look up, unbeknownst to me, there was a speed bump ahead and a car had come to a complete stop. And there wasn't enough time to avoid the car. I swerved and it didn't matter. We still, I mean, really hit this car.
Smacked it.
We did. And so, the just force of the car, we were going fast enough. It put us past that car. We, of course, stop. And you're in this moment thinking, okay, we're in a different country. We have no idea who this person is that we just hit. I don't think I want the police involved in this, but I don't know because I don't know who this person is. And so I looked at you. I was driving. You were in the front seat. Jacqueline was in the back, and there was no question. It made sense for me to be the one to go to talk to them. I wasn't married at the time. I wasn't going to have your sweet wife watch something happen to you. And just in our relationship, a dynamic is I'm the guy that always carries cash. If we go anywhere,
That's true.
Travis
That's
will
true.
never ever have cash. So if you're listening to this podcast, there's no reason to mug him for cash. You're going to be really disappointed. And so I got out and was just facing the headlights of this car. This man gets out. I don't speak Spanish. He doesn't speak English. Fortunately, our car was in a lot worse shaped car than his was. But through hand signals and enough back and forth, we were able to barter, and he was willing to accept American dollars to solve our problems. And we then
That's
got
how you do it in
to
Costa Rica, baby. Pull
make
out the Benjamins, and it's act like it never happened.
yes, but it's been seared in our minds. And if I go back to Costa Rica, I'll just drive well below the speed limits and make sure that you're not in a situation where you don't have cash.
Hey, let me tell you guys, that is a unbelievably true story. And if we had the time, what happens after that is, I think, even funnier. Of how do you take a car where the bumper is halfway fallen off and not even have to pay any money, even though you didn't have insurance on the car, to the rental car company? That's Hunter Lloyd, everybody. He could tell you the story of somehow how we returned that car with no insurance and paid $0 to the rental car company. So, a man of many talents, Hunter Lloyd.
Let's be honest, life's messy. Decisions are complex, and it's not all black and white. But these are the decisions that shape our growth. Welcome to The Tension. Let's get into it.
We are thrilled to have my main man, Hunter Lloyd, on today. And our topic, the tension that we are going to tackle today, is the idea of partnership and friendship. So those of you listening out there, I am sure this one will hit home, because it is often that when we get into great partnerships, we become friends, or vice versa. We're friends, and so we want to get into partnership. And that is a tension to manage not a problem to solve. But Hunter, we are so excited for you to be here. Hunter Lloyd is a founding partner of 49 Financial. He and I go all the way back in our careers together, even some Deloitte days. And he is doing, I don't know, 1,000 things, you would probably say, Hunter, at the firm right now. So to pin him down on all the value and impact that he's having would be impossible. But I've said it before on many stages. I'll say it again here. There would be no 49 Financial without Hunter Lloyd. So Hunter, what a blessing. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So, Hunter, obviously, this topic, as I'm sure even in the intro, people are kind of wondering, is you and I would consider ourselves best buddies. And we've been doing business partnership. You're as close of a business partner as I've ever had in anything I've ever done. That tension of partnership and friendship is as clear in my life with you as anyone else because it's the deepest. And I think there's such a beauty to that. But as we've even talked about, gosh, as we go back on a decade plus experience and kind of managing both of those, it's really hard. So let's start with just the idea of like, why is this tension hard?
Yeah. I think from a tension, this is certainly one that exists, and as we'll get to, it's one that's well worth it. But to your point, it's not without its challenges. I think that for us, as each year has gone by, in a lot of ways, we've been able to grow, and I would say it's become easier and easier. But especially the beginning stages of it, you're almost in this stage of like euphoric bliss, and you're just chasing things together that you can't believe you're getting to do with one another. Everything's fun. And then, if it's going to be a partnership in business, as any business will have it, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be really hard times. And so figuring out everything from, what are the different roles and responsibilities? How does it look to continue to, uphold one another through the different circumstances? How do you receive support while giving support? How do you just navigate all of the different complexities that exist? There's a lot of learning to do. But if you've got two people that are willing to put in that effort, are willing to, it really comes back to the friendship. If you're willing to come back to the things that make you a really good friend, it can also make you a really good partner. I think that, just kind of last point I'll make on this, the partnership is just going to stress the relationship and test it in ways that I've had very few friendships that have done that. You just get put in a lot of different situations where there could be either competing interest or, there's different pride things that could come into play, all sorts of opportunities that are rife for the partnership to go sideways. And if you're able to navigate through all of those things and manage that tension, it's something really beautiful on the back end of it.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And we're going to get to some just like practical, like how do you manage those and talk about maybe some of our highs, and lows and things here in a second. But I think one of the things that's so true that I hope you listening out there here is like, it is worth it. So to kind of just like, we're going to go all the minutes ahead. We're still going to say that at the end of all of this, which is like, I think it's one of the more beautiful things in the world. Like I think about, it's not quite a marriage in the sense of like my marriage with Jacqueline, of course, but the analogy is there, even if it's not to that level of like, gosh, I think about my relationship with her. And then I think about my relationship with you. And like, boy, when you're committed to going through, especially growth and life stages, right? Of like learning how to do your career, learning how to be a spouse and be a parent, like you're going to change. And just like in a marriage, just like in a business partnership, friendship, like those changes can be points of transition that if you let it, could totally break it down. And I think in the friendship partnership, unlike the marriage side, like there isn't necessarily a vow there. And so you see a lot of friendships end. And sometimes that's good. Maybe some friendships need it in because seasonality or whatever. But I think that both of us would say like there is almost no better beauty than sticking it out through all of the things, because even though it was harder, I don't know, there's just a beauty to it that you're like, I can't even give you words. You'd have to feel it when you just know someone's got you. And there's just so much proof on that. And obviously, I feel that way towards you, buddy. But so let's dive into then, Hunter, like, let's go through a few of just things that you would give someone listening out there to say, like, I've got a lot of friends that I am business partners with. Or, right, like I have some friends and maybe I'm going to start a business with them, or all these things that I think could be awesome. But there's a few like watch outs. Maybe start with one. Like, what's one thing that comes to your mind that's like, hey, as you go into that, or as you're already in it, like, here's something that I would give as a piece of advice.
Yeah. I think before you enter into it, making sure that you're really aligned on mission, vision, and values. And that's more corporate speak. That's something that you hear a lot, but it's really hard to overemphasize how important that is specifically. I think that's something that, as we've looked at it, if there's ever been days where we've had a difference of opinion or a difference in how we would approach something, being able to come back to, but we're rooted in the same things that
Yeah.
we are wanting to accomplish in all of this. We're rooted in the same things from a value standpoint that we care about the most. We ultimately are chasing the same thing. That has continued to unite us and been bigger than any differences that we would have. If you've got a somebody that you're looking to go into partnership with, or you're in partnership with, where that's not the case,
Yeah.
there's going when it comes time for trying things to occur in your business, it's going to be really challenging to be able to navigate that and to not be able to ultimately lean back on the common mission, vision, and values.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about, and I think that's such a good one, and I'm glad you said, like, yeah, it may be corporate speak, but at the same token, like, that's just true. But I do wonder, like, you and I think if we're straight up about it, we kind of fell into a little bit of the mission and the vision. But the
Mhm.
one thing that we had well before them was values. You and I, led a Bible study together at Texas A&M, right? You continued that on for that year after I had left. Like, there was an alignment, especially for us. I think values for us was very much faith. Like,
Mhm.
we really came from the exact same place of like worldview, what really matters, what's going to happen in the end, big questions that if you're aligned with someone on, and then you read the same playbook of like, this is how I ought to act. Boy, I'll tell you, like, as I hear that, I'm like, gosh, but if you're going to get one right, get the values one right.
Yeah.
Like, make sure when times get rough, what do they go to? Like, what is their playbook that they're going to? And that may or may not be a faith perspective, but I think we had that. And I think, yeah, we just kind of, I mean, our story is so crazy, dude. Like, the mission and the vision, I think every year just started to take more hold. But I wonder how much of the mission and vision started just because we wanted to do business together.
Yeah, I think that because we were so rooted in values, the ultimate mission and vision was there. There are a lot of, to your point, there was a lot of details in between of then what exactly would that look like for it to take shape, and how was that going to occur. But because the values gave us the long term, here's what we're after in
Yeah.
life, it
Yeah.
allowed us to be able to every year start to shape that more and more to be able to create what's here.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's with me or it's with a different business partner or whatever it may be. Do you have any stories that illustrate this point of like when you think about like this is a moment in which we were at a really low for various reasons, and this is like part of the mission, vision, values. That's what got us out, or a high where it's like I was sitting there like, boy, we achieved this thing, and I think the reason why is because of that. Any stories that you could share that you think would be relevant?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that just knows about our story as an organization, they know that there was a pretty pivotal year in 2019 where, as our story started to really unfold. As we're just talking about shared mission, vision, and values, we were previously with an organization where just as they started to look out, especially at more of the mission and vision, as they were really considering the things that they valued, it just didn't exactly match up with what we had in mind. And so as we were then navigating that, it really for us put us to the test of
Yeah.
is this going to be a partnership that's going to last, and are you actually about those things that you've talked about, because there's going to be real sacrifice that comes from it. And just in the way that it unfolded with us, it wasn't a all for one for all approach. It was each individual person had to make a decision, and so that started with you as the leader, and you ultimately made the decision to step aside. But in a lot of ways, it really started to make it the test started to become much stronger for those going after you, in that
Yeah.
there were certain things that were offered and incentives that were out there. And they, a picture started to form in front of some of these people of, well, what if I was just to step into, some of these people that were ahead of me? What if I stepped into their roles, and what would that look like monetarily? What that look like in terms of recognition, and, what I could essentially put myself on the fast track to be in a seat that it may take me years and years and years to get to. And, for us to be able to navigate that personally, as you talk about a low, there was a day where, as you made the decision to transition out, not totally knowing what was on the other side of that, but hoping that, that there would be something, and for me to then, be the one to take the next step. A low would be standing in your backyard together, looking at each other going, well, we, for the last, 5-6 years have built something that we don't have anymore. And are we going to be able to rebuild it? Is it something that, these values and the mission and vision, like, are other people really about that? Because we've shown what we're about, but we didn't know. And we didn't know how, committed people would be to that. And so it was a pretty vulnerable time for all of us to be in that position and wondering. But man, to be then on the other side of that, and to get to see the business partners that you really have, and the people that are
Yes.
coming over and saying, I'm committed to this, and
Yeah.
I believe in what we can do together, and whatever that looks like, whatever I have to sacrifice, I'm here to do it with you.
Yeah.
Man, that's just an example of some trying times, very stressful, some low lows, but the beauty that's on the other side of that, it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, man. I actually didn't know you would go there with that story, but I think that is a beautiful summation of aligned vision, and values, right? Mission. But I actually think, like, I hadn't really thought about it that way. Like, it really was one of the most telling times that a person, can have of, do they actually want to do the business partnership, right? In addition to the friendship. Because, right, if people didn't go over, and we still obviously know many of people that it wasn't the right decision for them and their family, and a lot of those folks we've continued great friendships with. Awesome, like that's how it should be, right? I mean, business is just business, but you get to test, like, do you get them both, and do people want to stay in that tension? That's just harder, especially when you have competing incentives and all of that you mentioned. So I think that's a wonderful example, and it gets me fired up that, I don't know, Lord even brought us through 2019, but also just for all of those names that I remember ringing that doorbell and coming into the house and going to the backyard and, like, feeling the same way. And it's like, yeah, it was a low. And then just some weeks later, maybe it's some of the most high highs I've ever had in business. I'm sure you'd say the same, of like, whoa, this means something.
Mhm.
Like, this really means something. And I don't know, again, you don't get that if you don't live in this tension, because some of those beautiful parts of that is we had our friends and our business partners back, and that's just like the coolest thing. Okay, so tell me then, you said it on the intro, this idea that part of the problem with this tension that all of us face, and you and I haven't nailed it, right? I've definitely not nailed it with other business partners, is this idea of roles and responsibilities, right? Because it's weird. Like, I could ask you how your day's going, and you could just, like, so the day we die together, you could be like, well, does he want to know about Morgan and the kids? Does he want to know about business? Like, that's a tough deal. There's no other way to say it. But, like, how would you say you've seen managing that tension of roles and responsibilities, both, like, within, like, the business roles shifting as time goes on, friendship roles shifting as seasons change, but yet staying close?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, even in a conversation, that tension exists, right, between friendship and partnership. And I think something that, we've seen this year, this theme of both and, you can do both. And so typically when you and I are in a conversation, and this is true for myself with Kyle, our other co-founder, or so many other people within the organization, where there truly is a friendship and a partnership. Oftentimes
Yeah.
we'll start on the personal side first. And, there are times where there is enough going on personally that really the caring thing to do, because you have that friendship with them, and even the right thing to do as a business partner, is just to spend that time personally and
Come
just
on.
to sit in
Come
that
on.
and to be there and to care for them in that way. Most of the time, you're going to find that people are not in that season. So while we want to sit there, most of the time it is hey, let's make sure that we continue to root ourselves in what's most important, but also then let's start to get to business. And I think that as that shift happens, you mentally have to move from, hey, we're even in this conversation moving from personal over to business. Now let me shift the roles and responsibilities from the friendship over to the partnership. And from there, it's every partnership is going to look different. For you and I, for anybody that knows us, we're wired very differently. Nobody would accuse us of being the same person in just about any way. And it has allowed us to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what are the differences from a strength standpoint? What are different areas where we can lean on one another? And
Yeah.
while we have different roles within the organization, I think that there's always been this mutual trust and respect that needs to be there in a friendship. If you've got a friendship that somebody doesn't trust or respect you, that friendship's
Yeah.
probably not going to go very far, and for sure not very deep. Carrying that over to the partnership, that's a really important aspect of it as well. And so,
Yeah.
we need to be able to, from a roles and responsibilities standpoint, shift from friendship to partnership, and then going into the partnership, just feel, like I said, the trust, respect, feel secure in the different roles that you have, and recognize that everybody is playing a part, and you're going to be better for everybody playing that part rather than just going at it alone.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, and I think, a couple practicals there, that I heard, and one that I know that we practice, this idea of when you have a meeting set up Monday through Friday, it's okay to start with personal and just like, how you doing? And to your point, I think you do a brilliant job of that. But this idea that it's a 30-minute meeting. And so there's a pressure, like, y'all, we're all feeling this. Like, there's a pressure of like, I'd love to spend every 30-minute meeting just like, how you doing? Because as seasons change and spouses come into play, and then you have a bunch of kids and all those things, you don't get as much as the weekend time. You don't get the night time to just catch up on your friendship. So you kind of are like, I miss that, but also we need to go to business. And I do think that is a really good practical tip of like, but I think it does change even when I think about conversations with you or with other business partners. I think those first 5, 10, maybe it does last the whole time, starting on personal, you're kind of like, regardless of how this goes with business, I'm with somebody that I love. And most people don't work with someone they love. And I need to just I need to get my mindset right here, because I may operate differently when we talk about the business side. But is there anything there, like, as you think about like the different hats you wear, how to communicate that in a really good spot, or even times stories where you think about like where it's gone really wrong or when it's gone really right, with any business partnership friendships?
Yeah, I think that, to your point, when you start on the personal side, even being on the other end of that, it's just a reminder that the person cares about you. And I think that
Yeah.
attention that you can feel when you're in a partnership and a friendship, you can just naturally wonder, does this person continue to care about me, or do they just care about the output? Do they just care about the
Yeah.
results? Is that what this relationship is becoming about? And so, starting with that, I have seen both on, when I'm leading out in that, or I'm on the receiving end of that, you just see a different receptivity when you start to move to the business side of it, where, go figure, there's going to be things that we need to get better at, and there's things that we
Yeah.
need to be able to talk about. Can we, improve in these areas, or we've got these things that need to get done, or whatever may be. And just being able to be in the framework of what is personal and what is professional. And I don't think
Yeah.
anybody would want to be in a professional relationship where they're not trying to get better and they're not trying to improve and that they're trying to get the very most out of it. But if you're blocked by, does this person even care about me to begin with, that can
Yes.
become a unique barrier that is really challenging to overcome. And again, just taking a step back and almost giving those reminders of, hey, love you and care about you personally, and we've
Yes.
got to get better professionally, and here's the areas and ways in which we're going to do that. Again, as a tension, but a helpful framework to be able to navigate it.
Yeah, I mean, so good, and it's imperfect, right? Like, I think what you would say, I know what I would say is like, just keep attempting to do that. Keep attempting to have the personal conversation and be willing for it to go longer. And maybe you don't get another one-on-one on all the business things that are so urgent and all the things we all are dealing with when we want to scale big companies. Maybe you don't get to it till next week. But to your point, I thought you made a comment a bit ago that was really good. Of it actually could be better for the business by just going personal. I don't think that that's maybe well understood. And frankly, until you've tried it and then you've seen results and things, it reminds me of Drucker's quote, right? That culture eats strategy for breakfast. Like, the way I think about it is the culture is the friendship, right? The strategy is the business. And like, if that quote is true, which I believe that it is, and I know it's talking about more of a business side, but the application here I think is so right. Like, if you're really vibing with someone and you know they got you and you got them, how much nonsense in a meeting do you not go through? Or skepticism that just doesn't come, or benefit of the doubt that you give quickly. And I don't know, I just think there's something to be said of maybe some of the better business could be making sure that the friendship is in a really good spot. Even if it's really hard and it gets really busy. So I think that's a great one. So Hunter, I know we got a couple more points here that I want to make sure, because those first two are really good. Like, align it up on the beginning, because if you don't have alignment on values at least, but mission and vision, like, it'll be tough. And then, yeah, roles and responsibilities will change, both roles, friendship and partnership. But also, like, it's hard. It's never getting easier. Seasons change and life changes, and you gotta stay in there. But let's go to the next part of this tension, which I think really is like, you will have a more simple friendship, per what you said in the opening, if you don't have a partnership. It's just true. You could even say it's going to be happier. I don't know, but there is something about this idea. And so before we go to like all the great things that can happen, let's talk about just the honest truth that if you're listening out there and maybe you're already going through this and you can picture the person as Hunter and I are talking today that this applies to. That's why we do this podcast. We want to help you. We want to bring tensions that we're all dealing with, and we're all imperfect. But like, Hunter, let's talk about the kind of the scary, kind of negative, hard parts of when you choose to do business together. What happens then for the friendship?
hmm Yeah, I think that, just one really practical thing at the start is, especially if it is a newer partnership, then anytime you're just entering a new job, it's something that you're thinking about a lot and it's consistently on your mind. It can be hard to be able to put that to rest and move on to something else. Well, now if you have a friend that you're in that with together, that can be the topic that just dominates all conversations. And
Yes.
everything is about the partnership and the business or whatever it may be. And in some ways, again, if you don't do a good job of putting some boundaries around that, you can almost feel like you lost a friend in addition to being in
Yes.
this new thing that's scary and that you're trying to figure out, because now you can't even talk to them about the things that you want to talk about, because all it seems like you can discuss is the business and partnership. And so, just having some different boundaries and having essentially setting expectations up front around how much time are we going to talk about this, or what are we going to talk about, or hey, let's go to dinner, but I'd really like to keep it on the personal side, whatever it may be.
Yes.
I think that's something that's there. Like I said, the a partnership can just put stress and test your friendship in a totally different way. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're in a business where we're calling on people, we're wanting to meet with them. And one of the things that I'll say, and that was really helpful for me to be able to wrap my mind around in the beginning of the career, is you can think you have certain relationships with people. This job in a lot of
Yes.
ways just shines light on
Oh,
what do you actually have there.
yes.
And
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah. And so, not that, just because somebody cares about you, they need to be a client or whatever it may be. But if they're not willing to even hear you out or have a discussion or don't care to hear what you're doing, you just may not have the relationship with them that you thought you did. And
Yeah.
being in a partnership is very similar. You can get into
Yeah.
it and figure out real quickly, is there actually the mutual care and respect and all of the things that we have for one another that we think is there, or do you start to get into situations where it becomes really complex, and it could be a one person wins and one person loses, or
Yes.
whatever it may be, who takes the credit for this or that, and it just puts so many different stressors on it and just shines like the very brightest light that you can. And
Yeah.
what I can tell you is, anybody that's entering into partnership, don't expect for the other person to be perfect. They're going to
Yeah.
mess up and you're going to mess up. That's going
Come
to be
on.
part of it. But being
Marriage
able,
advice there too.
yeah, being able to have that light shone very, very brightly on it to see what you have. And in the areas of weakness or in the areas where there's imperfection, being
Yeah.
able to then take that next step of, what does it look like for us to have healthy confrontation? What does it look like for us to be able to talk about these things and do it in a
Yes.
way where, again, we're not getting personal with it, because that can be a really easy thing to do. But continuing to show true and genuine care for one another, again, going back to the values, the mission, the vision, and saying, hey, here are the things that are the most important. Let's not lose sight of that.
Come on.
And as long as you're able to fall back on those things and have really healthy conversation with one another, then it's something that, again, you get to the other side of it, you almost feel invincible. You feel, what can we not do? Because here are
Oh
all
yeah.
these things that are coming up and are challenges in our way. And you just feel this freedom because you don't have to be perfect. You are learning, and so you're becoming a better and better partner along the way. But you also have this freedom to know, even if I'm imperfect, we're going to be able to talk through this and work it out and be healthier on the other side.
Come on, dude. Yeah, it's interesting on this, third point, this idea that like the friendship is going to be tested. I'm thinking about our story here as you're even giving that. And, something I just tell everyone to watch out for and to like see if you can label it. Cause I know, Hunter, for you and I, we weren't able to label it for like a year, is this idea that the perfect storm can happen. And this is when I think it's most likely to get broken up. Ours was somewhere, if I remember, late teens, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, where we had two monster shifts happening. I remember on the friendship side, you were getting married. We weren't going on trips as much anymore, as you should, all the things. But it was really hard. We were relabeling the friendship, both in the amount of time that we were spending, but also just like what was needed. I mean, like I remember when you were single versus when you're married, just the relationship dynamics and the conversations, even. They're just different. Like that's not bad, but that's a storm. Like I think we'd all say, like when we've seen people have big significant life changes, friendships change. I don't think that's bad. I just want to make sure everyone knows that's just how it goes. But like that was happening, and so again, really beautiful, awesome, beautiful bride. It was amazing, all the things, but change was in the air on that side. But then on the same time, we had the business side that we were really starting to scale. And I know we've said this often on this podcast. I've said it anytime I could talk. We got a little too much growth. I think you would agree. I think our growth outweighed our maturity for that growth, and we made so many mistakes that we've hopefully apologized for. And we also did a lot of awesome things too that propelled us where we are today. But it was just a little too much growth, I think, if you ask us. So you got too much growth, which was forcing us a lot of stress at business, a lot of change of you and I's roles and trying to figure out like what are we? Because the glory days, like you said, of just like let's go figure it out together. It's like we got layers of people, we got hundreds of people. What do you do? What do I do? And the friendship. Like I don't know if you remember, there's a place in Austin called Uchiko for all of you Austinites. We had a conversation I will never forget. And I have still told Jacqueline, for any friendship / business partnership I've ever had, that 4 or 5 hour meal was the playbook for me of if both people are committed, you can even get through a perfect storm. Any thoughts on that? I mean, your memory might be a little bit different. And like, do you remember how, I don't fully, because it was some years ago, like how did we get through that perfect storm
Yeah.
practically?
I think that, with that specific dinner, we were both at a place where, again, because time was starting to be reduced, because there was all these additional things, there just wasn't as much, um, you know, taking a step back and connecting on, so what are we actually doing here? Where
Totally.
is this going? Are we on the same page with it? And of any time in our partnership, that's the most that we really let that go further apart than it should have. And so that was a really good opportunity for us to take a step back and, again, just remind one another of, again, the friendship, the personal care that we have for one another, that hadn't gone anywhere. And from a partnership standpoint, start to label and diagnose, like, here's the things that actually are going well, here's the things that can be made better. What steps do each of us need to take to start to make that better, and really start to build on that? And there's just a commitment overall to, again, falling back on, for us, it was originally a friendship before the partnership. There's just a commitment
Yes.
to one another, and a look, all these other things. I think that what both of us needed to hear is nothing else is more important than that. And
Yes.
so let's get that right, and then we'll be able to figure out everything else.
Yeah.
And that didn't mean that it was fixed overnight, but it started a really healthy process for us to be able to strengthen and continue to build on, and grow to where, when some of these bigger storms came, because ironically, I think in a lot of ways, just through
Yeah. It was the prepare.
the
Right.
Lord's, provision, and through His sovereignty, it was preparation for what's about to come. And I think in a lot of ways, He's
Yeah.
like, look, if this even bigger storm that you didn't even realize is possible could hit,
Yes. Yes.
while you're in this place, that this could be a different outcome. So we were fortunate in that, right, that a lot of that was preparation, and that just meant that the storms that we then went through put us in an
Yes.
even better place.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as you're saying all of that, I think that like the learnings from me for that was you have to pursue one another in that because each person is actually wanting to run away. Like but you have to both pursue. I think you have to both believe exactly what you said, that the friendship is more important. But like, I trust this person. I want them to both work. Like, I'll go through all the stuff. We'll make this work. And when both people say they're going to make it work, it's amazing what happens. It works. To your point, it could take years, right? It could take a lot of that. But I also think last thing I'd say that I just remember from that was just this idea of like the ability to, it's like counseling 101, right? Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to defend? Is like, I just remember when we were giving each other feedback, we both just listened. There was no defense of like, well, you felt this, but that's not right, and all that. Even if that was in our hearts, that's in any conflict's heart, right? But like, yeah, I just thought that was really beautiful, and y'all out there, like, to be able, even now, some 7 years later, for me to go back and use that as a milestone in my life of how I want to handle things with people, and for Hunter and I to be at the spot that we are, as we're talking about just our relation, trying to be vulnerable out there, guys, I'm telling you, it is as painful and hard and really difficult to swallow your pride to do on both parties' part. I don't know. It's totally altered who I am. It's totally altered the way I pursue friendships, partnerships, the way that I think about them, and so it's worth it. So, Hunter, we're running out of time, so let's do one more big point, which is, it is so true that you can be a little just more chill and kind of fun and just hanging out on a friendship. But business, it does get pretty serious, right? Like, it's not like, I mean, you have employees, you've got clients' lives that are depending on, like, this is the real deal. This is not just let's just hang out every day. However, one of the things I've admired from you, and I've seen you do with many business partnerships, is like, how do you bring the friendship fun into the business that is so serious and needs to be serious? My goodness, it's important what everyone does for a living. When people trust you with there's, yeah, it's a big deal. But like, how do you blend those and make that tension awesome to where you actually maybe could have more fun in business because you have the friendship?
Yeah, I think this is something that would be easy to run from, and almost compartmentalize and say, when
Yes.
you're at work, and that is serious. When you're off of work, you need to then flip the switch, and that's where you have fun. Um, I think that it's something that, I appreciate the compliments. I've really learned that from you in a lot of ways. Of even as we're in client meetings with one another, you don't know when it's going to come up, but there's going to be some laughs that are going to happen, and we're going to have fun. We're talking about a very serious subject. It's something that the other person cares deeply, deeply about, as do we. But it doesn't mean that we have to show up and have a typical finance meeting that's really stuffy and boring, and everybody walks away feeling like they understand, but also like their soul died a little bit at the end of it, right? And so I think that for us, there's an intentionality that needs to be there. You do have to pick and choose your spots. I think that's also part of partnership, is making sure that that there are certain times. That doesn't mean any and all times are there to have fun and to make jokes, and those are things that I think both of us could look back on at different times and go, yeah, that probably wasn't exactly what I meant to say, or the audience I meant to say it in front of, or whatever it is. And that's where you
can't make all your shots, Hunter. You just got to keep shooting.
Yeah. Has Josh Henson done a podcast? Is that
he's coming up?
Coming up. Okay. That can be his episode. The tension of how do you keep shooting.
There you go, Josh.
Anyways, it's something that I think, as long as you're intentional with it, you know how to find the right timing. It's something that people are attracted to, and the reality is, it makes your partnership a lot more attractive too.
Yes.
Because people are like, man, they both know how to get things done, and they can have fun while doing it, and that's just a really rare combination.
Yeah, so I've got to ask before we close with a call to action from you. Can you think of a time that we had a ton of fun or a ton of laughter? We've got over a decade, so there's got to be something that you could share of, like, what's a practical example of combining the fun of friendship, bringing it into business while still obviously operating a very serious business?
Yeah, I think that for those that have listened or know Travis, he's absolutely a visionary. He's very strong-willed. He's a galvanizer. We were on a trip, and it's just something that I think we've done. One of the things that I'd point to that we've done right in the organization is getting outside of the office and traveling together, doing trips, and getting to spend time away. There was one particular trip where there was an opportunity for us to go to a hotel that was supposedly haunted. And Travis was trying to galvanize everybody around why they needed to spend their money.
It's from The Shining, dude. It was very cool that we could go to the hotel that The Shining. That's a creepy movie, man. To go in there, that's crazy fun. See, I'm galvanizing now, but keep going.
He's galvanizing now. So typically my job is, for the most part, Travis has really good direction. Whenever there's direction that's a little different than how the general room is feeling, that's my job to step in and say, hey, things are going differently. This was one that, just from a pro cons, I looked at it and I was like, I can tell the room does not want to do this. I can also tell this is one of the few times he's so confident this is going to be great that he's not going to give them a choice. And I am really confident this is not going to be great. So I think the tension of this is one that we should just let play out, and we should see how it goes. So, Travis leading from the front, nobody wants to go. He says, all right, we're going anyways, and nobody has to pay for it. I'll pay for it. We got introduced to Scary Mary and the ghost within the hotel in The Shining. And I just remember at one point, this tour is just really not going well. It's essentially, you're just walking around some really old rooms, and
we don't advise it.
Nothing is happening. They give everybody these dum-dum suckers, and you're supposed to hold out this dum-dum, and supposedly some ghost is going to come in and like get your dum-dum or whatever. And so we're finally at one point where you could just see, Travis just kind of his frustration growing and growing, and the ghost's name is Billy, and Travis is holding out the dum-dum, And, everybody's sitting there waiting and they're like, is this like actually going to happen? I mean, how weird is it going to be if we're just holding out our hands and nothing happens, which is exactly what happened. And just as we're all sitting there waiting, Travis finally just yells out, "Doggone it, Billy, just take the dum-dum." And at that point, everybody laughed. Nobody was taking it seriously, not that they were to begin with. And it was a great memory. We had a lot of fun with it. So that was one where everybody got some good laughs. I don't even know when that was. That may have been close to 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. And people still talk about Scary Mary and our haunted hotel.
It's also a lesson of how not to lead, folks. So if you're curious of my failures, I can give you a lot of pro tips on poor leadership by Travis Penfield. Okay, Hunter, we're running out of time. This has been amazing. The 4 points. I hope you that are listening out there, these are good ones. And I think they're really, really, really applicable. And I'm just saying, there is nothing better than making it through all of the storms and the difficult things and managing this tension. But Hunter, what's your closing thoughts for us? What's your call to action? What would you leave us with as we're all going to continue to manage this tension between business partnership and friendship?
Yeah, I think just going back to the origins of 49 Financial, two are better than one. This is something that, if you can find at least someone or a group that you can go and chase things with, and you can open yourself up to both a friendship and a partnership, it is going to be challenging. If you go into it with the expectations of, but you don't understand, we're the very best of friends, here's all these things that we've navigated, I can promise things are going to come up that are going to be unbelievably challenging. But if both people are committed to one another, if both people are falling back on, the same shared values and what you're trying to do with one another, man, it is really sweet and it is completely worth it.
Well, Hunter, amazing. I think if we really get past the hard times, it's so sweet. But the word that keeps coming to my mind is intentionality. The amount of intentionality it will take to get through those and to get to the beauty of the relationship and see all the seasons change and to have all that stored up, like just awesome memories and also tough times that you got through. I don't know that there's something more beautiful. I don't think money can buy it. I don't think success can buy it. It's when you've got someone that you just love and you trust and you get to spend all aspects of your life with. A lot of people say don't mix your friends with business, and I get it, and maybe that's right for you that's listening. But Hunter and I are living proof that it could also be doggone beautiful. Harder, but beautiful if you let it. So Hunter, thank you for being on The Tension.
Thanks for having me.